I still remember the exact moment I realized my life was about to change forever. It was the look in her eyes when she slid that tablet across my desk. Not fear, not sympathy, just cold, hard certainty that someone wanted me dead. The board members filed into the emergency meeting 3 months later, expecting to see me sitting at the head of that table. Instead, they found her. Minji Park, my bodyguard, sitting in my chair like she owned the place. What she told them that day would tear apart everything I'd built. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all started. Welcome to the channel, whether you're new here or you've been riding with us for a while. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. We tell stories that hit different, stories that feel real, stories about choices that change everything. If you're into that, you might want to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see how this one ends. 6 months earlier, I was sitting in my penthouse office on the 42nd floor of Tech Vault Tower. Marcus Chen, 34 years old, $12 billion in company valuation, and 4 credible death threats in the last 8 months. My CFO, David Winters, stood across from my desk, arms crossed, looking like a disappointed father. The board voted unanimously, Marcus. You're getting executive protection whether you like it or not. I didn't look up from my laptop. I don't need a babysitter, David. You need someone who can stop a bullet. There's a difference. I kept typing, reviewing the quarterly security reports that ironically showed our company's systems were flawless. It was my personal life that was the problem. When does this bodyguard arrive? David checked his watch. She's in the building. Should be up any minute. Great. The last thing I needed was someone following me around, judging my every move, treating me like I was fragile. My assistant knocked twice before opening the door. Mr. Chen, your appointment is here. I glanced up, ready to deliver my speech about how I didn't need constant supervision. The woman who walked into my office wasn't what I expected. No dark suit, no obvious earpiece, no government agent intensity. She wore tactical cargo pants, a fitted black jacket, and combat boots that had seen real action. Her hair was pulled back in a practical bun, dark eyes that scanned my office in 3 seconds flat exits, windows, sight lines. She moved like water, efficient, controlled, dangerous. Mr. Chen, she said in perfect English, her voice level and professional. I'm Minji Park. I'll be handling your security. I responded in Korean, testing her. I don't need a babysitter, especially not one my board hired behind my back. Her expression didn't change. She reached into her jacket. I tensed and pulled out a tablet. Then I guess you don't need to know about the breach in your building's security system. My fingers stopped moving on the keyboard. What breach? Minji walked forward and placed the tablet on my desk without asking permission. Her confidence was unsettling. Security footage filled the screen. A man in a maintenance uniform walking through the service corridor on my residential floor. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. yesterday. That ID badge is a fake, Minji said, pointing to the screen. The uniform is authentic, but it was reported stolen from the building's laundry service 2 weeks ago. She swiped to another angle. The same man accessing the elevator panel with a key card. My private elevator, the one that only went to 3 floors. Someone accessed your private elevator codes 3 times this week. Different people, different times, all using credentials that shouldn't exist. I felt my chest tighten. You have enemies who don't make threats, Mr. Chen. They make plans. Minji looked at me directly, and I saw something in her eyes that made me believe every word. I'm here to make sure those plans fail. For the first time since she'd walked in, I really looked at her. Not as an inconvenience, as a professional. The scars on her knuckles, faded but visible. The way she positioned herself, with a clear line to both the door and the windows. How her jacket hung just right to conceal what I assumed was a weapon. This wasn't some corporate security guard playing dress-up. This was someone who'd seen real combat. Former NIS? I asked in Korean. National Intelligence Service, South Korea's CIA. A flicker of something crossed her face. Respect, maybe, for recognizing the signs. 7 years, then private sector. Why did you leave? That's not relevant to keeping you alive, Mr. Chen. Fair enough. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. 1-month trial, but you stay out of my way during board meetings and client presentations. I'll stay close enough to take a bullet. That's the job. She said it so matter-of-factly that I almost believed she'd actually do it. The first 2 weeks were hell. I worked 18-hour days. She was there for every single minute, standing outside conference rooms while I pitched to investors, sitting in the corner of restaurants while I took client meetings, running security sweeps of my penthouse at 2 in the morning while I reviewed code. I tested her. Late-night drives to nowhere in particular. Impromptu meetings in parts of LA, my board would have a heart attack knowing I visited. Dismissing her recommendations in front of my executive team, she never complained, never argued, never left my side. It was infuriating. One night, I took a detour through MacArthur Park at midnight. Not smart. Not safe. Definitely not on my approved route home. Minji sat in the passenger seat, silent, scanning the streets. You're trying to get me to quit, she finally said. I'm living my life. You're being reckless because you think I'll give up. She turned to look at me. I don't give up, Mr. Chen. People who give up don't last 7 years in my old job. The Tech Vault annual charity gala was the biggest event of the year. 1,000 guests, 3 senators, half a dozen competitors sizing me up, and enough security to make Fort Knox jealous. Minji had spent 2 full days coordinating with the venue's security team. I watched her brief them in the morning, her tactical mind breaking down sightlines and threat vectors like she was planning a military operation. By the time I arrived that evening in my custom Tom Ford tuxedo, she'd already walked the entire venue 3 times. She stood 3 steps behind me as I worked the room, playing the charming billionaire, shaking hands, making promises I'd actually keep. She was dressed in tactical black that somehow looked formal enough for the event, always scanning, always watching. At 9:47 p.m., I was mid-conversation with Senator Morrison when I saw her move. 1 second she was behind me, the next, she was cutting through the crowd like a shark. Her hand went to her concealed weapon. I followed her line of sight and saw him. A waiter, moving wrong, too focused, hand hovering near his jacket pocket. He was 20 feet from me and closing. Minji closed the distance in 4 strides. Her hand intercepted the waiter's wrist just as it emerged from his jacket. Not a weapon, an envelope. The waiter's eyes went wide with terror, and he started speaking rapid Korean. Please, please, they have my daughter. They said just give this to Marcus Chen, that's all. Just give him the envelope, or she dies. His voice cracked on the last word. Minji's grip loosened slightly, but she didn't let go. I stepped forward, breaking away from the senator. Let him go. She shot me a look that said this was a terrible idea. I took the envelope anyway. The waiter was shaking now, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They showed me pictures. My daughter, she's only 6. They have her. Minji pulled out her phone with her free hand, already calling someone. Description. Now. Everyone involved. While she worked, I opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Me, leaving my building this morning. Red crosshairs drawn over my heart. The message underneath was in Korean. Seoul remembers. Payment is due. Minji had the waiter out of the building in under 3 minutes. LAPD picked him up for questioning, but she'd already arranged protective custody for his daughter through contacts I didn't know she had. The gala continued around us like nothing happened. That's what money buys. The illusion that everything's fine. But back in the car, Minji wasn't fine. We're going to your office. Now. And you're going to tell me everything. It wasn't a request. 20 minutes later, we were in my penthouse office. Security footage looped on the screens. Traffic cameras. Building entry logs. She worked in silence, her fingers flying across keyboards, accessing systems I didn't even know we had. I poured myself a scotch. I don't know what they want. Yes, you do. She turned to face me, and for the first time, I saw anger in her expression. Seoul remembers. Those aren't random words. Someone from your past in Korea wants you dead. Who did you hurt? I drained the scotch in one swallow. I didn't hurt anyone. Then who did? I felt something crack inside me. The mask I wore every day, the confident CEO, the self-made billionaire, it all fell away. My father hurt them. The words tasted like ash. Minji stopped typing and turned her chair to face me fully. I sat down across from her, suddenly exhausted. 10 years ago, my father was involved in a massive real estate development project in Seoul, Gangnam District, prime location. I could still see the headlines, the protests, the families being dragged from their homes. Thousands of families were displaced. He promised them fair compensation, new housing, job placement. He promised everything. Minji's expression didn't change, but I saw her hands tighten on the armrests. He paid them a fraction of what he promised. Then he bribed city officials to fast-track the demolitions. People lost everything. The ice in my glass clinked as my hand shook. Some families never recovered. There were suicides, bankruptcies, lives destroyed. And the waiter? I closed my eyes. His father was one of them. Minji stood up and walked to the windows. The silence stretched between us like a blade. Your father's dead, she finally said. 3 years ago. Heart attack. So they're coming for you instead. It wasn't a question. I nodded. She turned back to me, and I expected judgment, disgust, maybe. Instead, her voice was measured, professional. How many families were affected? 2,347. The number was burned into my brain. And how many have you compensated? I looked up sharply. Her eyes were calculating, putting pieces together. All of them, I said quietly. Through anonymous trusts. It's taken 3 years and most of my liquid assets, but every family has received what they were originally promised, plus interest and a formal apology letter. Minji's expression shifted. Does anyone know it was you? No. The trusts are structured through shell companies in 3 different countries. Even my board doesn't know. Then why are they still after you? I stood up and walked to my desk, pulling out a locked drawer. Inside was a folder I'd kept for 3 years. Because some people don't want money. They want blood. Minji took the folder and started reading. Letters from families. Some thanking the anonymous donor. Others demanding to know who was trying to buy forgiveness. And then the threats. Dozens of them, collected over 3 years. My father built his empire on blood and lies, I said. I've spent every day since his death trying to fix what he broke. But apparently, that's not enough for everyone. She looked up from the letters. The people threatening you, they don't want your money. They want justice. Real justice. I know. They want you to suffer like they suffered. I know. Minji closed the folder and set it down carefully. Then we give them something better than revenge. I stared at her. What? The truth. Public acknowledgement. Your father's crimes exposed. A permanent reparations fund with full transparency. Not anonymous. Not hidden. Your name on it. My hands went cold. That would destroy Tech Vault. The board would force me out. Shareholders would flee. Everything I've built would have a foundation that isn't built on graves. Her words hit like a physical blow. Over the next 2 weeks, something shifted between us. Marcus started asking questions during our late-night security reviews. Not about protocols or threat assessments. About me. Why I left the NIS. What Busan was like growing up. The scars on my hands. I found myself answering, which broke every professional boundary I'd ever maintained. One night at 3 a.m, he found me in his kitchen making terrible instant coffee. You know there's a $10,000 espresso machine right there, he said, pointing. This is faster. It's also disgusting. It's fuel. He sat down across from me, exhausted from another 18-hour workday. Tell me something real, Minji. Something you've never told a client. I should have shut him down. Should have maintained distance. Instead, I told him about my last assignment with the NIS. We were tracking a North Korean operative in Seoul. High-value target. 3 months of surveillance. Marcus listened, without interrupting. I got the shot. Clear line. Perfect conditions. But there was a kid in the background, maybe 8 years old, playing with a soccer ball. My coffee had gone cold in my hands. I didn't take it. Marcus didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, what happened to the target? Someone else took the shot the next day. Clean kill. No civilians involved. So you made the right choice. I shook my head. In my world, hesitation gets people killed. The operative had intelligence on 3 active plots against South Korean assets. Every day he stayed alive was a risk. But that kid got to go home. That kid probably doesn't even know how close he came to seeing someone die 10 feet away. Marcus reached across the counter. His hand stopped just short of touching mine. You saw a child and you protected him. That's not weakness. That's humanity. I pulled my hand back, standing up. Humanity doesn't keep you alive, Mr. Chen. Marcus. What? Call me Marcus. We've been through 4 death threats together. I think we're past formalities. Despite everything, despite my training, despite knowing this was crossing lines, I smiled. Okay, Marcus. That was the moment everything changed. We just didn't know it yet. Marcus made his announcement on a Thursday morning. I was running perimeter checks on the executive floor when David Winters found me. You need to stop him. I turned to face the CFO. His expression was a mix of panic and fury. Stop what? He's holding a press conference in 20 minutes. He's going to Seoul. My blood went cold. I didn't wait for explanations. I found Marcus in the media prep room, adjusting his tie while a makeup artist touched up his face. Get out, I told the staff. They looked at Marcus, who nodded. The door closed behind them. You're not going to Seoul. Marcus met my eyes in the mirror. Yes, I am. I'm announcing a permanent reparations fund. $500 million. Full transparency. My name attached. That's a death sentence. That's accountability. He turned to face me directly. You said I should give them truth instead of revenge. That's what I'm doing, I said eventually, after we neutralize the threats, after we identify everyone involved. There's no perfect time for this, Minji. The press conference was a nightmare. Every major financial outlet was there. Tech bloggers, business journalists. Marcus stood at the podium like he was born for this moment. 10 years ago, my father, Chairman Chen, was involved in a real estate development project in Seoul that displaced over 2,000 families. I watched from the side of the room, scanning faces, exits, windows. Promises were made and broken. Compensation was withheld. Lives were destroyed. Camera flashes exploded across the room. I cannot undo what my father did, but I can take responsibility for the legacy he left behind. Marcus's voice didn't waver. Effective immediately, I'm establishing the Chen Family Accountability Fund. $500 million in perpetual reparations for affected families, plus full funding for independent investigations into corruption surrounding the original development. The room erupted. Questions shouted from every direction. In 3 weeks, I will travel to Seoul personally to meet with family representatives and formally apologize on behalf of the Chen family. My phone started vibrating. Threat assessment alerts flooding in. 3 new credible threats in the last 60 seconds. That night, Marcus's penthouse became a war room. David Winters paced like a caged animal. The board is calling for an emergency vote. They want you removed as CEO. Let them vote. Marcus, they're serious. You just admitted to corporate corruption on national television. I admitted to my father's corruption. There's a difference. I was at my laptop, tracking the digital fallout. Social media was exploding, half calling Marcus a hero, half calling him a fraud. But it was the dark web chatter that worried me. We have a problem, I said without looking up. Both men turned to me. 3 separate groups are claiming they'll kill you in Seoul. 2 are just keyboard warriors looking for attention. And the third? I pulled up an encrypted message board. Professional. Organized. They knew about your press conference 12 hours before you announced it. David's face went white. That's impossible. Only 5 people knew. 6, I corrected. You, Marcus, the CFO, 2 board members, and the PR director. Marcus sat down heavily. You're saying someone inside my company is working with them. I'm saying someone inside your company wants you dead. I spent the next 3 days doing what I did best. Hunting. Every security log. Every access code. Every communication protocol. Someone had been leaking Marcus's schedule for weeks. The pattern was subtle, professional, but it was there. Meeting times shared just minutes before they happened. Travel routes flagged in encrypted channels. Security details passed along to unknown recipients. At 2 in the morning on the 3rd day, I found it. A digital breadcrumb so small, most people would miss it. An executive assistant's credentials used to access files she shouldn't have clearance for. But the access times didn't match her work schedule. Someone else was using her login. I cross-referenced the timestamps with building security footage. And there he was. David Winters, in the office at 3 in the morning, using a terminal that wasn't his. My hands shook as I compiled the evidence. Not David. Anyone but David. Marcus trusted him completely. They'd built this company together, but the data didn't lie. I couldn't tell Marcus. Not yet. Not without confronting David first. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe the evidence was circumstantial. I tracked David's movements for another 24 hours. He went to the underground parking garage at 11 p.m., 2 days before the Seoul trip. I followed, my weapon ready, but concealed. He stood by his car, checking his phone, waiting for someone. I stepped out of the shadows. How much did they pay you? David spun around, his face going from surprise to something darker. Min Yi. How much? My gun was drawn now, pointed at the ground but ready. David's laugh was bitter and broken. You think this is about money? Then what's it about? He pulled out his phone with slow, deliberate movements. Showed me a photograph. A young woman in a hospital bed, tubes and machines keeping her alive. Her name was Sarah, my baby sister. His voice cracked on the last word. She was 23 years old. David's hand trembled as he held the phone. The Seoul development. Sarah was studying abroad. She heard about the families being displaced and joined the protests. I kept my weapon ready but listened. Peaceful protests. She was just carrying a sign. But Chairman Chen had paid the police to clear the area by any means necessary. His eyes were hollow with old grief. They beat her with batons, fractured her skull in 3 places. She was in a coma for 6 years. The gun felt heavy in my hand. We kept her alive on machines, hoping she'd wake up. Praying. Every day for 6 years. David. She never woke up. We finally let her go 2 years ago. He put the phone away. Marcus thinks money fixes everything. $500 million. Anonymous trusts. Formal apologies. His voice turned to steel. It doesn't bring Sarah back. It doesn't give me back 6 years of watching my sister die by inches. I understood revenge. I understood grief. But I also understood something David didn't. So you'll kill an innocent man to avenge your sister? He's not innocent. He carries his father's sins. No, he carries his father's guilt. There's a difference. I lowered my weapon completely, but didn't holster it. Marcus isn't his father. He spent 3 years trying to make this right. With blood money. With everything he has. Do you know what those anonymous trusts cost him? Most of his personal fortune. He lives in that penthouse because selling it would raise questions. But everything liquid? Gone. Given back to the families. David's expression flickered. He's making this public now because you're right. Money isn't enough. He's risking his company, his reputation, his freedom to expose what his father did. It's too late. Sarah's already gone. So you'll kill him and make sure all those other families lose everything too? His reparations fund dies with him? The investigation into the corruption dies? Every family waiting for justice loses? I stepped closer. Your sister was fighting for those families. She carried a sign and took a beating because she believed in protecting the innocent. My voice dropped. If you murder Marcus, you're exactly like the people who killed her. You become the thing she died fighting against. 30 seconds of silence in that concrete tomb. Just breathing and the distant hum of ventilation. Then David's shoulders collapsed. There's a kill team. They board the Seoul flight tomorrow. Seats 14A through 14D. I had David in a safe house within the hour. Not under arrest, under protection. If the people he'd been working with found out he'd flipped, they'd kill him before dawn. I called Marcus at 4 in the morning. We need to talk. Now. Your place. 20 minutes later, I was standing in his penthouse living room. Marcus came out in sweatpants and a t-shirt, hair disheveled from sleep. What happened? I told him everything. David's sister. The betrayal. The kill team on tomorrow's flight. Marcus sat down slowly, like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. David. All this time, it was David. He was feeding them your schedule, your security protocols, everything. Marcus put his head in his hands. His sister. God. I remember that story. The protesters who were hospitalized. My father laughed about it at dinner one night. The disgust in his voice was raw. Said they should have known better than to get in the way of progress. I sat down across from him. David gave us the kill team seats. But there's a bigger problem. Marcus looked up. If David knew about the press conference 12 hours early, and he wasn't the original source, someone else is still leaking information. I pulled out my tablet and showed Marcus the access logs. 3 board members accessed your private files in the last week. Files they shouldn't even know exist. I swiped through the data. Robert Kim, your head of Asian expansion. Margaret Torres, chief legal officer. And James Park, your lead investor. Marcus's face went pale. James Park. He was one of my father's original partners in the Seoul development. Everything clicked into place. He's not just an investor. He's covering his own tracks. If your reparations fund triggers investigations, his involvement comes out too. Marcus stood up and walked to the windows. Dawn was breaking over Los Angeles, painting the sky in shades of fire. They're not trying to kill me for revenge. They're trying to kill me to protect themselves. David's people want blood. Your board wants silence. The question is, which group gets to you first? Marcus turned back to me. Cancel the Seoul trip. No? He stared at me. What? We don't cancel. We use it. I stood up and walked to him. We know about the kill team. We know about the board conspiracy. We use the trip as bait to draw everyone out. Marcus looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You want to use my life as bait? I want to end this. All of it. The threats, the conspiracy, the people trying to bury your father's crimes. I pulled up a secure communication app on my tablet. I still have contacts in the NIS. People who owe me favors. Big ones. Marcus's expression shifted from shock to understanding. You want to set a trap in Seoul. I want to catch everyone involved. The kill team, your corrupt board members, the crime syndicates they're working with. Everyone. And how do we do that without me actually being there to get shot? I looked him directly in the eyes. You stay here. Fake a security breach at Tech Vault headquarters. Emergency board meeting during your departure window. And you? My throat went tight. I go to Seoul. With a team of undercover NIS agents. We pose as your security detail. Marcus stepped closer. You're talking about walking into an ambush. As bait. With people who want me dead thinking you're me. They won't see my face until it's too late. Same height. Same build from a distance. Your usual security formation. Minji, this is insane. This is my job. Marcus grabbed my shoulders. Not roughly. Almost gently. I can't ask you to do this. You're not asking. I'm telling you what's going to happen. People are trying to kill me, not you. People are trying to kill my client. I don't let that happen. Minji, I've walked into worse. Chechnya, the DMZ, a hostage situation in Manila where the odds were 8-1. I kept my voice steady, professional. I know what I'm doing. Marcus's hands tightened on my shoulders. And if something goes wrong, if they get past your team, if they won't, you can't guarantee that. No, but I can guarantee that if we don't do this, you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, and eventually, they'll get lucky. His eyes searched mine. There has to be another way. There isn't. Not one that ends this completely. Silence stretched between us. Dawn light filled the room, warm and golden. Marcus's voice dropped to almost a whisper. I can't lose you. 4 words that changed everything between us. I should have stepped back, should have maintained professional distance, should have reminded him that I was his employee, his bodyguard, nothing more. Instead, I stayed exactly where I was. Marcus, I know it's unprofessional. I know you'll probably quit after this. I know I'm crossing every line we've carefully maintained. His hands slid from my shoulders to my arms. But I can't send you into danger without you knowing the truth. Don't. Somewhere between you saving my life and me watching you drink terrible coffee at 3 in the morning, I fell in love with my bodyguard. The words hung in the air between us. Every protocol I'd ever learned screamed at me to shut this down, to walk away, to maintain the boundaries that kept clients safe and professionals employed. But I'd stopped thinking of Marcus as just a client weeks ago. Maybe that first night in his kitchen, maybe when he told me about his father's crimes with such raw honesty, maybe every single moment in between. This is a bad idea, I said quietly. I know. It violates every rule I have. I know. If I do this, if we do this, everything changes. Marcus's voice was barely above a whisper. Then let it change. I closed my eyes, felt his breath on my face, felt the weight of every choice that had led to this moment. When I opened them again, I'd made my decision. Then give me a reason to come back alive. I kissed him. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was 3 months of denied attraction and professional boundaries finally breaking. His hands moved to my face, pulling me closer. Mine went to his waist, steadying myself against the intensity. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus rested his forehead against mine. Come back to me. That's an order. Since when do I follow your orders? Since right now. I smiled despite everything. I'll come back. But when I do, we're having a serious conversation about appropriate workplace relationships. I'll have HR rewrite the entire policy manual if that's what it takes. Another kiss. Softer this time. Then I stepped back, forcing myself into professional mode. I leave in 12 hours. You need to prepare for the emergency board meeting. What do I tell them? Everything. About David. About James Park. About the whole conspiracy. They'll try to vote me out. Let them try. By the time your meeting ends, we'll have evidence that buries them. The next 12 hours moved like a countdown to war. I briefed my NIS contacts via encrypted channels. Former colleagues who'd been waiting years for me to call in favors. Agent Han would lead the ground team in Seoul. Agent Kwan would handle airport security. Agent Choi would coordinate with local police, keeping them far enough away to avoid spooking the targets. Marcus triggered the fake security breach at Tech Vault at exactly noon. Building evacuations, emergency protocols, the whole performance. By 2 p.m., his board was assembled in the secure conference room. I watched the security feed from the airport. Marcus stood at the head of the table, facing 12 board members who looked ready for blood. Gentlemen, ladies, we have a serious problem. He pulled up the evidence I'd compiled. Access logs, financial transfers, communications with Seoul crime syndicates. James Park stood up, his face red. This is absurd. You're making wild accusations based on 3 years of you covering up your involvement in my father's crimes. The room went dead silent. Marcus played the audio recording. James Park's voice, clear as day, coordinating with the kill team. 2 other board members went pale. FBI agents are waiting outside this room. You're all under arrest. My flight to Seoul boarded at gate 47. Business class, under Marcus's name. I wore a baseball cap and kept my head down. The kill team boarded exactly where David said they would. Seats 14A through 14D. 4 men, Eastern European by their features, professional muscle. They didn't even glance at business class. Agent Han sat 3 rows behind me, reading a newspaper. Agent Kwon was in first class, posing as a businessman. 2 more agents were scattered through economy. The flight attendant made the standard safety announcement. We taxied to the runway. My phone buzzed one last time before I had to turn it off. A message from Marcus. Come home safe. That's not a request. I typed back, see you on the other side. The plane lifted off. 13 hours to Seoul, 13 hours until we ended this. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. Ran through the tactical plan one more time. Airport arrival, secured transport, hotel check-in under Marcus's reservation. The kill team would make their move within the first 24 hours. We'd be ready. If you've made it this far, you know this story hits different. Hit that subscribe button because episode 3 is where everything explodes. Drop a comment and tell me, would you risk everything for someone you love? Stay connected. You won't want to miss the ending. Incheon Airport at 7 in the morning was chaos. Thousands of travelers moving through gleaming terminals like a living organism. I cleared customs using Marcus's diplomatic credentials. The kill team was 50 meters behind me, moving as a unit. Agent Han fell into step beside me, playing the role of Marcus's assistant. They've split up, she said in Korean, not looking at me. 2 following us. 2 taking a different route. Meeting point unknown. Transportation status? Your car is waiting. Black Mercedes. Diplomatic plates. We have 3 chase vehicles positioned. I adjusted my cap lower. From a distance, in Marcus's typical traveling clothes, I could pass for him. Same height, same build, same confident walk he'd taught himself to project. The automatic doors opened to Seoul's winter morning. Cold air hit my face. I hadn't been back to Korea in 4 years. The Mercedes idled at the curb, exactly as planned. Agent Kwon sat in the driver's seat, wearing a chauffeur's uniform. I slid into the back. Through the tinted windows, I watched the kill team emerge from the terminal. They saw the Mercedes pull away. 2 of them scrambled for a taxi. They took the bait, I said quietly. The drive to the Grand Hyatt took 40 minutes through Seoul's morning traffic. I watched 3 vehicles rotate following us. The kill team's taxi, a black SUV I didn't recognize, a motorcycle that kept appearing and disappearing. The SUV is new, Agent Kwon said from the driver's seat. I see it. He took a turn that wasn't on our planned route. The taxi followed. The SUV followed. But the motorcycle peeled off. Either we spooked them, or they're coordinating multiple approach vectors, I said. My phone buzzed. A message from Agent Choi. Motorcycle just entered the hotel underground garage. They're already in position. So they weren't just planning to follow me. They were planning to hit me at the hotel. Fast. Efficient. Before I could even get to the public apology ceremony scheduled for tomorrow. I pulled up the hotel schematic on my phone. 3 possible ambush points in the garage. 2 in the lobby. 1 in the elevator corridor to the executive floor. Change of plans, I told Agent Kwon. Take the service entrance. Go now. He swerved across 2 lanes of traffic. The taxi tried to follow but got blocked by a delivery truck. Perfect. We entered the hotel through the service entrance used by catering trucks. Agent Han was already inside, dressed as hotel staff. Motorcyclist positioned on sublevel 2. Driver waiting on the bike. Engine running. Amateur move. They're planning a quick hit and exit. Or they're confident enough to not care about being seen. Both options were dangerous. I followed Agent Han through service corridors that smelled like industrial cleaner and kitchen grease. Hotel workers barely glanced at us. We took a freight elevator to the 15th floor. Marcus's suite was at the end of the hall. Corner position. Good sight lines. Multiple exits. I'd chosen it specifically for defensive advantage. Agent Han swiped the keycard. The suite was massive. Living room, bedroom, office space, full kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's skyline. The city I'd left behind 4 years ago spread out like a memory. I walked to the windows and looked down. 15 floors up, no immediate sniper positions. But there were a dozen buildings within range that could work. Get blackout curtains, I told Agent Han. And I want counter-surveillance on every building with line of sight to this room. My phone rang. Marcus's name on the screen. I answered. The board meeting is over. James Park and 2 others are in FBI custody. His voice was tight with exhaustion. What about the others? Cooperating. Turns out when you show them evidence of conspiracy to commit murder, people get very helpful. I could hear the relief in Marcus's voice, mixed with something else. Fear. How's Seoul? He asked, trying to sound casual. Complicated. They're already in position. Motorcycle in the garage, tail vehicles, possible sniper positions. Min-ji. I'm fine. This is what I do. Silence on the line. Then, I've been thinking about what happens after. After you come home. After we end this. After we figure out what we are to each other. I turned away from the window. Agent Han had discreetly moved to the other room. Marcus, I'm in the middle of an operation. I know, but I need you to promise me something. What? That you'll actually come back. Not just alive, but come back to me. To us. My chest tightened. I promise. Say it like you mean it. I promise I will come back to you, Marcus Chen. Now let me do my job so I can keep that promise. A soft laugh on the other end. Okay. I love you. The words hung there. I'd never said them back to anyone in my life. I daft. You don't have to say it now. Just come home and say it then. The call ended. Agent Choi arrived 30 minutes later with tactical equipment. Body armor that fit under business clothes. 3 concealed weapons. Backup magazines. Surveillance equipment to monitor the hallway. Local police are on standby 10 minutes out, he said in rapid Korean. But they don't know the operation details. Official story is, you're a high-value witness. Good. Keep them distant. Agent Han returned with a laptop. I've identified 5 buildings with clear sight lines. Scanning for heat signatures now. The laptop screen showed thermal imaging of the surrounding area. Most windows showed normal heat patterns. One did not. There. I pointed to a building 3 blocks away. 12th floor, corner office. That heat signature is wrong for occupied office space. Agent Han zoomed in. That's a person lying prone. Sniper position. My blood went cold. They're not planning to hit me in the garage or the lobby. They're planning to take me through the window. The ceramic glass was bulletproof to small arms, but a high-powered rifle with armor-piercing rounds could punch through. Close those blackout curtains now, and get me a location on the other 3 members of the kill team. Agent Choi was already on his phone. Airport taxi dropped 2 targets at a hotel 6 blocks from here. The other 2 are unaccounted for. They're setting up a crossfire. Multiple shooters, multiple positions. This wasn't just a kill team. This was a military-grade assassination squad. I pulled up the schedule for tomorrow's public ceremony. 10 a.m. at the Memorial Plaza downtown. Open air. No cover. Hundreds of civilians. The worst possible scenario for security. They're not going to wait for the ceremony, I said, thinking out loud. Too many variables. Too much security presence they can't control. So when? Agent Han asked. Tonight. They'll try tonight. I looked at the window, now covered with heavy blackout curtains. They'll create a situation to get me to show myself. Fire alarm. Fake emergency. Something that forces evacuation. Agent Kwan checked his weapon. Or they just breach the door and come in shooting. Possible, but they want it to look like an accident, or at least deniable. Sniper, shot through a window. Gas leak explosion. Something that doesn't scream assassination. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Seoul area code. I answered. A man's voice, speaking Korean with a North Seoul accent. Agent Park. Or should I call you Marcus Chen? My hand tightened on the phone. Who is this? Someone who's been paid a great deal of money to make sure you don't leave Seoul alive. I'm calling as a professional courtesy. Courtesy? Surrender yourself to the lobby at 8 p.m. tonight. We'll make it quick. Otherwise, we start targeting civilians until you show yourself. I put the phone on speaker. All three agents went silent, listening. You're bluffing, I said calmly. Am I? There's a coffee shop across the street, very popular with young professionals, 43 people inside right now. My stomach dropped. We have visual confirmation, the voice continued. One of my associates is positioned with a clear line of fire through the front window. Say the word, and I demonstrate my commitment. Agent Choi was already pulling up traffic cameras of the street below. The coffee shop was there, windows full of people. What do you want? I told you. Lobby, 8 p.m. You walk out with your hands visible. No weapons, no backup, no tricks. And if I don't, then every 10 minutes, someone in that coffee shop dies. Then we move to the restaurant next door, then the bookstore, then the subway station. The line went dead. I looked at the clock. 7:45 p.m. 15 minutes. Agent Han's face was pale. He's serious. These are not typical contractors. This is something else. Agreed. This is either high-level criminal organization or state-sponsored. North Korean? Agent Kwan suggested. Possible. But the timing suggests it's connected to your father's soul development. Too personal. I walked to the equipment bag and started removing the body armor. What are you doing? Agent Han demanded. What? He asked. I'm going down to the lobby. Take a minute and hit that subscribe button. You're about to see how far she'll go to keep her promise. Agent Han grabbed my arm. This is suicide. You walk down there, they kill you, and 43 people still die. Not if we move first. I pulled up a map of the surrounding area on the laptop. Choi, how fast can you get a team to that coffee shop? 3 minutes if we go now. Do it. Evacuate through the back. Make it look like a gas leak. Get everyone out without alerting the shooter. Agent Kwan was already pulling on a jacket. What about the sniper across the street? Han, you're with me. We're going to pay him a visit. I strapped my weapon back on, concealed under a loose shirt. They expect me in the lobby at 8. That gives us exactly 12 minutes to neutralize both positions. Agent Choi was out the door. I could hear him on the phone, coordinating with local assets. Agent Han checked her weapon. The sniper's building has security. We can't just walk in. Yes, we can. Your hotel management investigating a noise complaint. I'm your security escort. We took the service elevator down. My mind was running through every possible scenario. If the coffee shop shooter saw the evacuation, he'd know we were on to him. He'd either abort or accelerate. Either way, people could die. The elevator doors opened to the service level. We slipped out a side exit into the Seoul night. The sniper's building was 3 blocks away. We moved fast, but not so fast we'd attract attention. Just 2 women walking through Seoul's business district at night. The building's lobby had a single security guard, old enough to be counting days to retirement. Agent Han spoke to him in rapid Korean. Building management. We've had complaints about noise from one of your upper floors. 12th floor, corner office. The guard looked bored. That office has been vacant for 3 weeks. Then someone's squatting. We need to check it out. He shrugged and handed over a building access card. Elevators are around the corner. Bring the card back when you're done. We took the stairs instead. 12 floors at a run. My legs burned by floor 8, but I didn't slow down. Agent Han was breathing hard beside me. We reached the 12th floor stairwell door. I held up a hand, waited, listened. Nothing but the hum of building systems. I cracked the door open slowly. The hallway was dark except for emergency lighting. The corner office was at the far end. Door closed, no light visible underneath. But I could feel the presence. Someone was in there. We moved down the hallway like shadows. Standard tactical approach, one high, one low, covering angles. I reached the office door, tested the handle slowly. Locked. Agent Han pulled out a lockpick set. 20 seconds later, the mechanism clicked. I counted down on my fingers. 3, 2, 1. We breached hard and fast. The office was empty except for a prone figure by the window. Black tactical gear. High-powered rifle set up on a tripod. The figure spun, reaching for a sidearm. "Don't," I said in Korean. My weapon aimed center mass. The figure froze. Male, late 30s, Slavic features. The same build as the men from the airplane. Hands where I can see them. Now. He complied slowly. Agent Han moved to secure him while I checked the rifle setup. Professional grade. Armor-piercing rounds. Exactly what I'd suspected. The sight was aimed directly at my hotel suite window. If I'd been standing there when he pulled the trigger, the blackout curtains wouldn't have mattered. The round would have punched through everything. "Who hired you?" I asked. The sniper smiled, showing gold teeth. "You'll find out in about 4 minutes." My blood turned to ice. "What happens in 4 minutes?" The sniper's smile widened. "Your friends at the coffee shop. They're about to learn an important lesson about negotiating with professionals." Agent Han hit him in the face with her weapon. "Talk now." Blood ran from his nose, but he kept smiling. The coffee shop was never the real target. It was bait to get you out of your secure position. My phone rang. Agent Choi's number. I answered, already knowing what he'd say. "The coffee shop's clear, but we have a problem. There's a device under the counter. Military-grade explosive. Defuse it. We're trying, but it's on a remote trigger. Someone's watching, waiting to detonate." I looked at the sniper. "Where's the trigger man?" "Everywhere, nowhere." "Does it matter?" Agent Han pressed her gun to his temple. "You have 3 seconds before I paint this window with your brain. Do it." I'm a contractor. They knew this might happen. They have contingencies for contingencies. My mind raced through the tactical situation. Coffee shop rigged to explode. Sniper neutralized, but his team still active. 2 more kill team members unaccounted for. And I was exactly where they wanted me, away from the hotel. Exposed. "It's a distraction," I said out loud. "The coffee shop, the phone call, all of it." "Distraction from what?" Agent Han asked. Then I understood. From the hotel. They're hitting the hotel right now. I was already running. "Choi, get back to the hotel. Now." They're going after Marcus's room. But Marcus is in progress. They don't know that. They think he's there. They'll breach and realize it's empty, and then they'll know we set a trap. I hit the stairwell at full speed. Agent Han was right behind me, her phone pressed to her ear, coordinating with Agent Kwon. 12 floors down, my legs hammered against concrete steps. We burst out into the night. The hotel was 3 blocks away. I could see it from here. All lit up. Beautiful. Normal. Then the power went out. Every light in a 6-block radius died. The street plunged into darkness except for car headlights and emergency lighting. "EMP or grid sabotage," Agent Han gasped as we ran. "Doesn't matter. They're making their move." We covered 2 blocks in 40 seconds. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. But I pushed harder. The hotel's emergency generators kicked in. Lights flickered back on in stages. We hit the lobby entrance. Hotel staff were panicking. Guests confused. Security trying to maintain order. Nobody noticed 2 more running women. We took the service stairs again. 15 floors up this time. By floor 10, I was running on pure adrenaline. We reached the 15th floor. The hallway was dark except for emergency lighting. I pulled my weapon and approached Marcus's suite carefully. The door was open. Not kicked in, not blown, just open. Someone with a keycard had walked right in. I signaled Agent Han to cover the hallway. Then I entered low and fast. The suite was trashed. Furniture overturned. Curtains ripped down. Equipment smashed. They'd been looking for something. Or someone. "Clear!" I called out. Agent Han entered behind me. They were here. Recently. Floors still wet from someone's boots, tracking in snow. I moved to the bedroom. Also trashed. But something was different. On the bed, arranged carefully, was a photograph. Marcus and me. Outside his building. 2 weeks ago. Someone had been watching us for a long time. Written across the photo in red marker, "Wrong target, but she'll do." My heart stopped. They knew I wasn't Marcus. They'd known from the beginning. This entire operation, the coffee shop, the sniper, the blackout, all of it was to separate me from my team. And now they had exactly what they wanted. Me, isolated, in a dark building with limited backup. Agent Han saw the photo and went pale. "This is a trap. We need to evacuate. Now." Agreed. But first, the lights went out again. This time, no emergency backup. Complete darkness. I heard movement in the hallway. Multiple footsteps. Professional. Coordinated. Han. Window. Go. We're 15 floors up. There's a balcony. Fire escape access. Move. We ran for the bedroom balcony door. I yanked it open just as the suite's main door crashed inward. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Target acquired. Bedroom. I fired twice into the doorframe, suppressing fire. Heard someone curse in Russian. Agent Han was already over the balcony railing, dropping to the fire escape below. I followed, holstering my weapon and gripping the cold metal. The drop was only 6 feet, but it felt like falling forever. My boots hit metal grating with a clang. Above us, flashlights appeared over the balcony edge. They're on the fire escape. South side. Cut them off. Agent Han and I went down fast. 14 floors of zigzagging metal stairs in near darkness. We hit the 10th floor landing when I heard it. Footsteps coming up from below. We were trapped between 2 teams. I grabbed Agent Han and pulled her against the building wall. The fire escape landing had a window to an interior hallway. "Can you break it?" She pulled out her weapon and used the grip to smash the glass. The sound was deafening in the quiet night. We climbed through just as footsteps reached our landing, from both directions. Inside was a hotel hallway. Normal. Safe. Lit by emergency lighting. A few guests peeked out of their rooms, startled by the breaking glass. "Gas leak," I said in Korean, my voice calm and authoritative. "Please remain in your rooms with the doors closed." They complied immediately. Authority in a crisis. People always listen. Agent Han and I moved quickly toward the stairwell. Behind us, I heard voices on the fire escape. They'd realized where we went. We had maybe 30 seconds. The stairwell door opened. Agent Choi stood there, weapon drawn, looking like he'd run the entire way. "Lobby's secure. Local police are arriving, but they're holding at the perimeter, per your instructions." "Good. We need to get out of this building. They have multiple teams and they're coordinating." "Where's Agent Kwan?" Choi's face went dark. "They got him. Underground garage. He's alive, but injured. Took a round to the shoulder." My chest tightened. 1 agent down, 3 of us left. Unknown number of hostiles. The odds were getting worse. We took the stairs down. Not running this time. Careful. Tactical. Checking each landing before proceeding. At the 7th floor, I heard it. Radio chatter. Russian. Very close. I held up a fist. Everyone stopped. The voices were coming from the 6th floor landing. At least 3 people, coordinating a sweep pattern. We couldn't go down, couldn't go back up. I pointed to the 7th floor exit. We slipped into the hallway. More guests. More concerned faces. A man in a business suit approached me. "What's happening?" "We heard gunfire. Security drill. Nothing to worry about." He didn't believe me, but he backed away. We moved to the opposite stairwell. This one was clear. We descended quickly to the 3rd floor. I pulled out my phone. 1 bar of signal. Barely enough. I called Marcus. He answered on the first ring. Minji. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you for 20 minutes. Little busy. Status on your end? FBI has the board members. But we found something in James Park's files. A payment. $5 million. Wired to an offshore account 3 days ago. My stomach dropped. He hired the kill team. More than that, he hired a military contractor group, former Spetsnaz. These aren't criminals. They're trained soldiers. Marcus's voice was tight with fear. Minji, these people don't stop. They don't negotiate. They complete the mission or die trying. I'm aware. I'm currently on floor 3 being hunted by at least 6 of them. Get out of that building. Now. Working on it. Agent Choi was at the stairwell window, looking down at the street. Police have established a perimeter, but they're not entering the building. Someone's keeping them back. James Park's influence, I said. He's still making calls even from custody. Agent Han checked her weapon. We're down to half magazines. If we engage again, we need to make every shot count. I looked at both of them. 2 agents. Both exhausted. Both willing to die to complete this mission. New plan. We don't run. We end this. How? Agent Choi asked. They're hunting us throughout the building. That means they're spread thin, divided. I pulled up the hotel schematic on my phone. We divide them further, draw them to the conference level. It's mostly empty at night. Large open spaces. We control the environment. 3 of us, against 6 trained soldiers in an open space. That's suicide. No, that's an ambush. Because they think we're running. They won't expect us to turn and fight. Agent Han smiled grimly. I like it. How do we draw them in? I looked at my phone. At Marcus's name on the screen. We give them exactly what they want. Marcus Chen in the conference room. Exposed. Vulnerable. Except it won't be Marcus. No, it'll be me. And this time, I'll be ready. This is it. The final move. The last stand. If you've been with us this whole journey, don't stop now. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a like. Tell me in the comments, did you see this coming? Stay connected, because the ending is about to blow your mind. The conference level was on the 2nd floor. 3 large ballrooms connected by a central corridor. Perfect for what I had in mind. We took the service elevator down, weapons ready. The doors opened to darkness and silence. Agent Choi moved first, clearing the corridor with tactical precision. Clear. No movement. We entered the main ballroom. Massive space. High ceilings. Crystal chandeliers catching emergency lighting. Rows of chairs set up for a corporate event that would never happen. Choi, you take the east entrance. Han, west. I'll be center stage. Agent Han hesitated. They'll see you the moment they enter. That's the point. I need them focused on me, not looking for you. I walked to the small stage at the front of the room, pulled out my phone and called the number that had threatened me earlier. The Russian voice answered immediately. Agent Park. Decided to surrender after all? No. Decided to end this. 2nd floor. Grand ballroom. Come get me. You're bluffing. Am I? I'm standing on stage right now, unarmed. Alone. Everything you wanted. Silence. Then, if this is a trap, then you'll kill me and complete your mission. Either way, this ends tonight. I hung up. I had maybe 3 minutes before they arrived. Agent Han's voice came through my earpiece. Thermal signatures approaching from the north stairwell. 4 contacts. Copy. Hold position. Wait for my signal. Agent Choi. 2 more coming from the south. They're splitting their approach. 6 total. Just as I'd calculated. I stood center stage. Visible. Waiting. My heart hammered, but my hands were steady. Years of training. Dozens of operations. All leading to this moment. The north entrance doors opened. 4 figures in tactical gear entered. Weapons raised. Professional formation. Overlapping fields of fire. The lead figure was the man from the phone call. Tall. Broad. Moving like violence was a second language. Agent Park. You actually came. I keep my word. He approached slowly. his team fanning out. Where's your backup? What backup? You disabled the police perimeter. My team is scattered. I'm alone. I don't believe you. Then shoot me and find out. He raised his weapon, aiming center mass. Any last words? I smiled. Yes. Duck. His eyes widened just as Agent Han opened fire from the west entrance. The ballroom exploded into chaos. Agent Han's suppressed weapon took down the rear guard before he could turn. The remaining three scattered, seeking cover behind chairs and pillars. I dropped off the stage, pulling my concealed weapon. Agent Choi engaged the two coming from the south entrance. The sound was deafening, even with suppressors. I took cover behind a pillar as rounds punched into the stage behind me. The Russian leader was shouting orders in his native language. Regrouping. Adapting. These men were professionals. They didn't panic. I leaned out and fired twice. Center mass on the nearest target. He went down hard. 4 left. Movement to my right. I spun and fired. Missed. The target rolled behind the podium. Return fire chewed into my pillar, showering me with plaster dust. Agent Han's voice in my ear. 2 targets moving to flank you. East side. Copy. Repositioning. I moved fast, staying low, using the chairs for cover. Found a new position behind an overturned table. One of the flanking targets appeared in my sightline. I didn't hesitate. 2 shots. He dropped. 3 left. But we were running out of ammunition and they knew it. The Russian leader's voice cut through the gunfire. Enough. We know you're almost empty. Surrender now, and I make it quick. I checked my magazine. 4 rounds left. Agent Han, 3 rounds. Agent Choi, 2. 9 bullets between 3 of us. 3 trained soldiers still active. The math wasn't good. What's your offer? I called out. You walk out. Hands up. Your agents go free. Simple exchange. And if I don't, we kill everyone. Starting with the hotel guests on the floors above. We have enough ammunition to make it a very long night. He wasn't bluffing. I could hear it in his voice. These men would absolutely kill civilians to complete their mission. I looked at Agent Han's position. She was shaking her head violently. Don't do it. Don't surrender. But I was already standing up, hands raised, weapon on the floor. Okay, I'm coming out. The Russian smiled as I stepped into the open. Smart choice. His weapon trained on my chest. I walked forward slowly. 10 feet. 5 feet. Close enough to see his finger tightening on the trigger. Then the ballroom's main lights blazed to full power. Everyone was instantly blinded by the sudden brightness. Marcus's voice boomed through the room's PA system. FBI, drop your weapons. Chaos erupted again, but different this time. The ballroom's side doors crashed open. 20 FBI agents in tactical gear flooded in. Red laser sights painted the 3 remaining soldiers. Weapons down! Now! The Russian leader looked at me, betrayal in his eyes. You said, I said I came alone. I didn't say I stayed alone. He started to swing his weapon toward me. Agent Han shot him in the shoulder before he could complete the motion. He went down cursing in Russian. The other 2 soldiers dropped their weapons immediately. Smarter than their leader, FBI agents swarmed them, zip ties and handcuffs appearing. I stood there, hands still raised, breathing hard. My ears were ringing from the gunfire. My legs were shaking from adrenaline dump. But I was alive. Agent Han ran to me, grabbing my shoulders. Are you insane? You could have been killed. But I wasn't. Agent Choi approached, favoring his left leg. I hadn't noticed he'd been hit. How did you get the FBI here? I thought James Park had them blocked. I pulled out my phone, showing them the active call. Marcus's name on the screen. He heard everything, and he called in some very important favors. 2 hours later, I sat in a hotel conference room, wrapped in a shock blanket. FBI agents took my statement. Agent Kwan was in surgery but stable. Agent Han and Agent Choi were being debriefed separately. The Russian soldiers, were in federal custody. James Park's offshore accounts had been frozen. 2 more board members had been arrested trying to flee the country. It was over. All of it. Finally over. An FBI agent approached me. "Miss Park, there's someone here to see you. We normally don't allow this, but he's been very insistent." She stepped aside. Marcus walked in, looking like he'd aged 10 years in the last 12 hours. His eyes found mine across the room. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I was standing, walking, running. We met in the middle. His arms wrapped around me like he was afraid I'd disappear. I held on just as tightly. "You promised you'd come back," he said into my hair. "I keep my promises. You also promised to tell me something when you got back." I pulled away just enough to look at his face. "Marcus Chen, I love you. And before you say anything about workplace policies," he kissed me, long and deep, and not caring who was watching. 3 months later, I stood in Marcus's office. The same office where we'd first met, where he'd dismissed me as unnecessary and I'd shown him the security breach. Everything looked the same but felt completely different. Marcus sat at his desk, reviewing the final legal documents. The reparations fund is fully operational. 200 million already distributed to families in Seoul. And the investigations? Ongoing. But the evidence we provided has already led to indictments of 12 government officials and 4 corporate executives. He looked up at me. "Your father's victims are finally getting justice. Some justice. It won't bring back what they lost. No. But it's more than they had before." I walked to the windows, looking out at Los Angeles. My phone buzzed. A message from Agent Han. "New assignment. High-value target in Singapore. Want in?" I smiled and typed back, "Not available. Permanent assignment." Marcus came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "TechVault's chief security officer has a nice ring to it. So does woman who keeps you alive. That too." He turned me to face him. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small box. My heart stopped. "Marcus, relax. It's not that. Not yet anyway." Inside the box was a key. "What's this?" "To the penthouse next to mine. I had it completely redesigned as a security operations center. Top-of-the-line equipment. Direct access to my place. And a bedroom for when you need to rest." I looked at the key, then at him. "You bought me an apartment?" "I bought you a headquarters. The apartment part is just practical." "Marcus, you said you didn't compromise on security protocols. I'm making sure you don't have to." I kissed him. Not the desperate kiss in Seoul. Not the reunion kiss at the hotel. This was something else. Something that felt like a beginning. "There's one more thing," Marcus said, pulling back slightly. He handed me a folder. Inside were legal documents, adoption papers, scholarship funds. David Winters is in witness protection. But before he left, he asked me to do something. I scanned the documents, my throat tightening. "You're establishing a scholarship in his sister's name? Full-ride scholarships for students pursuing social justice careers. 50 students per year, in perpetuity." Marcus's voice was gentle. "Sarah Winters died fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. This way, her legacy lives on." I couldn't speak, just nodded. "David said to tell you something. Justice heals better than revenge. Sarah would have liked you." 6 months after Seoul, Marcus held another press conference. This time, I stood in the back of the room, not as his bodyguard, as his partner, both professionally and personally. He announced the Sarah Winters Social Justice Scholarship Fund, showed photos of the first 50 recipients, young people who would fight for others the way Sarah had. The press ate it up. Redemption story. Billionaire making amends. But I knew the truth. This wasn't about redemption. This was about responsibility. After the press conference, we walked out together. His hand found mine. "Think we actually pulled this off?" he asked quietly. "The scholarship fund or the relationship?" "Both." I squeezed his hand. "The scholarship will change lives. The relationship? We'll figure it out as we go." That's not very reassuring from someone who plans everything 12 steps ahead. Love isn't tactical, Marcus. It's improvisation. He laughed. The real laugh, not the CEO performance. We walked out into the Los Angeles afternoon. Behind us, Tech Vault Tower stood gleaming in the sun. Ahead of us, everything was uncertain, but we'd face it together. A CEO and his bodyguard, a man trying to fix his father's sins, a woman who'd learned that protecting someone could mean loving them too. Not a perfect ending, but a real one. I stood in front of the mirror in my new security operations center. The apartment Marcus had designed for me was everything I needed. Tactical, efficient, but somehow also warm. He'd thought of details I hadn't even considered. A proper coffee station with the good stuff, not instant. A photo wall where I could put pictures of my family in Busan. A reading corner with Korean and English books. On my desk sat the key to his penthouse. Beside it, a note in his handwriting. For when work is done. For when you want to come home. My phone buzzed. Marcus, board meeting in 10. Need my CSO present. Me? Professional or personal? Both. Always both now. I smiled and grabbed my tablet. 6 months ago, I'd walked into his office as a bodyguard, with one mission: keep him alive. I'd succeeded, but somewhere along the way, the mission had changed. Now it wasn't just about protecting his life. It was about building one together. I took one last look around my operations center. State-of-the-art security systems monitoring every Tech Vault facility. Encrypted communications with law enforcement agencies worldwide. Real-time threat assessment protocols. This was my domain, my kingdom. But my home was next door, with a man who'd trusted me with his life and given me his heart. I locked the door behind me and headed to the board meeting. Chief Security Officer Min-ji Park, ready for whatever came next. Marcus Chen's reparations fund has provided over $200 million in compensation to families affected by his father's real estate schemes. The Sarah Winters Social Justice Scholarship has funded 150 students in its first year. David Winters remains in witness protection. His testimony led to the conviction of 27 individuals involved in corporate corruption and organized crime. Min-ji Park serves as Chief Security Officer of Tech Vault Industries and personally oversees protection programs for corporate whistleblowers and vulnerable communities worldwide. Sometimes the people we're hired to protect end up saving us instead. Sometimes justice takes years, but it's worth the wait. And sometimes, against all professional protocol and common sense, love finds a way. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button right now. We tell stories about real choices, real consequences, and real love. Drop a comment and tell me, what did you think of Min-ji and Marcus's journey? Like this video if you believe in second chances and redemption. And stay connected, because we have more stories that will hit you right in the heart. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying until the end. This is what happens when duty meets love, when justice meets mercy, when two broken people build something beautiful together. See you in the next story.